Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to Team Forbidden's YouTube page. It is I, Scott, otherwise known as Cedar Southern Fanatic, coming at you with a new deck profile for Digimon that I've been cooking up for a while. Leopardmon. It's not fully arted yet, but it's not going to be. Mostly because the alt arts for the Leopardmon are like about 20-30 bucks each right now, and it's a little out of my budget. But this is a deck that I've been cooking up for a while, and I'm actually kind of surprised it actually works pretty friggin' well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to do things a little differently today. As you can see that I've got the stuff all separated out. So first things first, we're going to go into the Digi Eggs first. It's 4 copies of Nyaramon. It's arguably the best green egg right now. So you got the 4 copies of the Nyaramon. Simple, all turns inheritable. Digimon gets 1000 DP if it's suspended. Pretty much perfect. Nothing else to say here. So the first package we're going to get into is this one. So we've got 4 copies of BT13 Salamon. This is your main searcher. On play, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add a beast, animal, or sovereign in the trait other than sea animal, and a Royal Knight card to your hand, bottom deck the rest. The reason I built this deck, we have the Mikamon. Mikamon is basically, it's Tabby Gatomon. For those who haven't heard before, Gatomon was my sister's favorite, the Agumon family was mine, so I've basically started collecting all the Gatomon stuff in her honor. So Mikamon, it's got the exact same heritable as the Salamon, where while it's your turn and it's got Beast, Animal, or Sovereign in the trait and or Royal Knights, it gets plus 2000 DP during your turn. So how we're doing this a little differently is we are running a double Typhoon package in this deck. There's 2 major packages apart from the main Royal Knight line. So double Typhoon is 1. So for the double Typhoon package, we've got 2 of the Terriermon from the starter deck, 2 of the Lopmon from the starter deck, 2 Wendigomon from the starter deck as your additional level 4. This helps you get rid of floodgates, such as the Pamumon, which we are also running. Might as well get into that now. Because the bane of this deck's existence is playing Digimon by effects. The other worst matchup for this deck is Hunters, just because you go wide boards and Hunters will just bottom your big Leopardmon under one of your Devas or under one of your other things or your Mimi, and there's literally no way you can stop it. So yeah, the Pamumon's out of the way. The problem is Leviamon also eats this deck alive, and this just straight up stops that deck from eating you alive. And the double Typhoons, which top 3, get a green Digimon and a Tamer, place it in the battle area, and delay you play a Terriermon or a Lopmon from your hand. Next package we're going to get into is the main way that this deck functions. This deck is not a line deck. It uses some line elements, but for the most part, it's kind of Ultazoo. So we have the Deva package, 3 Kumbiramon, 2 Vajramon, 2 Vikarlamon, and then 2 Mihiramon, and 2 Intilimon. So the Mihiramon is the one from BT13. Again, it's part of the line thing. It's your best Deva that you want to put Lepid on top of. The Intilimon is your other best body to just swing ultimates with. So I should explain the other Devas. So the Deva package works like this. As you can see, there are no evolution costs on them. So how do you get them out and how do you use them? Well, the way that the Devas work is they're basically a pseudo kind of draw engine, and you cheat your level 5s into the breeding area. So the way that they work is when you play them, you draw a card, and then you can play a Deva that doesn't match any of the names of cards on your board or in your trash. So that's why, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the 4 Sovereigns deck running around. If you notice 4 Sovereigns, they'll usually only run 2 of each of the Devas. I am, however, opting to run 3 of this Kumbiramon because all 3 of these have a separate effect as well. So the Kumbiramon, all turns, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, you draw a card. Vikarlamon, If you play an option card with a cost of 1 or more, you gain a memory. And for Leopardmon, if an opponent's Digimon is deleted by battle, you then just unsuspend him if he is suspended. The Kumbiramon, I felt like, is the best Deva, because then if your opponent attacks and they don't have a way of getting rid of it, you draw a card, and then if you draw an Ace Digimon, you can just immediately Blast Evolve and counter on top of this, because the card draw would happen as a response to your opponent suspending their Digimon via an attack. So it comes right before the counter timing. Vajramon turns your trainings into 1 cost and your Double Typhoon into a 2 cost, which is nuts. To round off our level 5s, we have 2 copies of Lilymon Ace. I'll be honest with you guys, I did originally try running the deck without this card. Don't do it. She is so useful. It's nice having a level 5 that you can just drop for 4 with the regular Leopardmon, suspend a body so then you can swing over it. Oh, and you could bottom deck the Floodgates with her too. So if you could just play her for 4 if they have like the Pamumon or Gatsumon or the stuff like that, and then just bottom deck their Floodgate. Suspend it and bottom deck it. And we have 1 Rapidmon, because we do have the Mimi Tamer in here, and de-digivolving your opponent's Digimon and bouncing it with the Leopard X is just so stupid. Speaking of, we have a whopping 12 level 6s. So first things first, we have the 4 copies of the regular Rapidmon, or not Rapidmon, Leopardmon from BT13. So Leopardmon is, it's one of the 13 Royal Knights. This one, for whatever reason, they decided to make it green, and they gave it swarming abilities. So when Digivolving or main once per turn, you can play a green Digimon or a Digimon with the Royal Knight straight from your hand. When you play it this way, you reduce the cost by 4. So basically the idea is to get this out, play the Lilymon or your Searching Salamon for free, and then all of your Digimon will gain blocker. Or you can just summon the Wendigomon for 1, because it's a 5 cost. The Micamon will be a free thing that gives you piercing for on play. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. But yeah, the Micamon gives you piercing for free and yada yada, and it expands your bodies on the board, lets you go wide. And then whenever you play a Digimon, doesn't have to be by his effect. All of your green Digimon gain blocker. And that is a blanket effect that affects your entire field until the end of your opponent's turn. So if this guy is out and you play a Digimon, even any green Digimon that you play out, say with Leopard X, for example, will also have blocker. It's like Venusmon, where it affects your entire board. To go with the Leopardmon, we have 4 copies of Leopardmon X. This card is nuts. Literally just expands on top of the green Leopardmon and makes everything even stupider. So it can Digivolve for 4 from any green Digimon, so any of your sovereigns. But it can also just Digivolve on top of Leopardmon without the X antibody trait for 1. Which is super nice. And then main, same thing. Reduces the play cost by 4. It's only for green Digimon, though. So just to mention, it doesn't work with Royal Knights, but it's only green Digimon. However, the caveat is, if you have X antibody in the source, or Leopardmon under him, you further reduce the play cost by 3. So that's what makes this deck so broken, is all the Devas, except for Intellimon, is 8 costs. All of them are all 7 costs. So essentially, the idea is you get the Leopard X out, and you play the Devas and set up your breeding area for absolutely free. And you can just play this for free, de-Digivolve, and then a special effect that happens when he plays a body, or whenever a body gets played out, you bounce an opponent's Digimon, return it to the hand once per turn. When one of your Digimon is played, you may return one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less to their hand. But for each of your other Digimon you have on board, you add 3,000 DP to the play cost. So 5,000, it's going to be, so for the other Digimon that you have. So 5,000, 8,000, 11, 14. You have 5 other bodies. You're basically bouncing anything. There's nothing that has more than 17,000 DP in the game naturally. But that's the basic idea with this deck. However, you can't survive on just these. I mentioned we have aces before. So we have the two Leopardmon, which can blast Digivolve from any Deva, or Digivolve from any Deva for a cost of 3. And then on Digivolving, it's basically Puppetmon. Suspends a Digimon for every Deva or Sovereign that you have. And then your opponent's Digimon aren't able to unsuspend during their unsuspend phase. Special note, that is only during their unsuspend phase. So if they have something stupid like Mirage Gagomon, where they can just unsuspend continuously, there unfortunately is no way to stop that. But when it is deleted, and before the overflow triggers, you will delete one of your opponent's suspended Digimon. Our other ace that we run is, of course, the big boy, Mega Gargamon Ace. Oh, and I should mention that this gets it on play or when Digivolving. So you can suspend an opponent's... You can play this out for free with Leopard X. Suspend an opponent's body, and then none of their Digimon will unsuspend during their unsuspend phase. Gargamon, unfortunately, doesn't do it on play, but he suspends 2 Digimon and or Tamers, and then 2 of your opponent's suspended Digimon or Tamers can't Digivolve, and he's a double attacker. Or unsuspend. So he's a double attacker and an attack. Boom. You can just do stuff from there. All right, to round off the deck, the only Tamer that we play, because we play the Terrier Double Typhoon package, so we have to run Tamers. Mimi Tachikawa is the only green Tamer that really would work for this deck. You can try Taiga if you like, but just having the ability to just push out a freshly played Deva and then Digivolve on top of that and keep going wider and wider and wider is just absolutely nuts. And not to mention, you can, if you have 2 of them out, you get basically an extra attacker for free because you're hard playing a bunch of level 5s and you're going to have a level 6 out. So it just gets nuts. To combine that, we have 3 agility training. Self-explanatory. And I will say before getting into this last card here, I had tried a couple of different things out before this profile. I tried out Quartzmon because, you know, if it's a green deck and you run Quartzmon, Quartzmon is one of the most broken cards in the game. Basically, you have to out it or you lose. I've tried Quartzmon. I tried Leopard Mode out, but the problem with Leopard Mode is it only Digivolves on top of Leopardmon. It doesn't Digivolve on top of Leopard X. So oftentimes I was finding myself with the Leopardmon, but without the Leopardmon X, so I didn't have the alternative win condition live for Leopard Mode, basically being able to swing all of my other bodies and then just go from there. Besides, I've got Alliance with the Lopmon, so it ultimately didn't matter. So what I wound up doing was I wound up cutting the Quartzmon after trying it, where it only came up like once, and then one time it lost me a game because I searched that instead of a rookie, but that's beside the point. So one of the things about Leopardmon X is that it does its effect if you have X anybody in the trade. So that's why the latest update for this deck, before doing the profile, I decided to put 2 copies of this card in here, also from EX5. So X Antibody Protoform. Basically what this thing does is it lets you go from your Deva into your Leopard X for free, for 3. And then, since it's always treated as X Antibody, you'll then be able to play any of the other Devas for free, because you reduce it by 4 and then you reduce it by the additional 3. This also gives you a little recursion when your opponent tries to get over your bodies, if they try to get over your bodies, where Protoform can let you put any piece under it into your hand, and then it'll go on top of your security. So it gives you a little bit more resilience. So, yeah, that's Leopardmon X Antibody. I call this Leopard X Deva. It's actually surprising how well it really works. Ideally, you're gonna want to mulligan. You want to mulligan your hand for the first turn of this deck. As some of you know, I have rules for what to mulligan for certain decks. Like, for example, for Blue Flare, if you don't see Blazing Memory Boost in your opening hand, you mulligan and hope that you do. For this deck, the mulligan rule is basically if you don't have a steady enough line with enough searches, or ideally you will have 2 Devas. Any of the 7 that draw the card and hard play stuff will be great. And breeding area, ideally you will want Mehiramon if you want early aggression, or Mehiramon if you want to set up your Leopard X, and the Antilamon if you want to go really super nuts. So yeah, the protoforms basically help with that as well, where if your Leopard X is about to go away, you put this on top of your security and get a Deva back. So guys, that's the Leopardmon X Deva profile. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell down below for notifications, and we'll catch you guys later.